I'm Caltrans Director for the Bay Area. It is an honor to be with all of you here today and to welcome you to our third annual Caltrans DBE Summit held here at our beautiful Bay Area. What a nice, pretty day. This year's theme is DBE Opportunities and Tools for Success. The theme, Tools for Success, underscores our commitment to provide not just opportunities, but the tools, knowledge, and support needed for everyone here to thrive. We understand that success is not a solitary journey. It's about collaboration, mentorship, and fostering an environment where everyone's strengths are recognized and uplifted. At District 4 Bay Area, we are making strides in this area, and we are excited to highlight some progress we've made thus far. For our disadvantaged business enterprise, during this past federal fiscal year of 22-23, District 4 has achieved an overall DB participation of over 22%. District 4 has awarded 60 federal Highway Administration assisted contracts valued at $732 million. For small businesses and disadvantaged veteran business enterprise, District 4's participation has a total expenditure of $365 million in fiscal year 22-23, with small business participation at 31.5%, or $115 million, and BVE participation of 3%, or $11 million. This year, we are aiming, with your help, to continue to achieve an increase in connection and participation with small businesses, disadvantaged veterans businesses enterprise, and disadvantaged business enterprise. So I want to start off by thanking you, and thank you for participating with us at this DBE Summit, and thanks to all of you that had helped us put this together. And without further delay, it is my esteemed pleasure to introduce our very own Caltrans Director, Tony Tavares.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so good to see so many people here today, and I heard we have over 300 registered for this event. What an amazing. This is our third annual Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Summit. We're being held here in the Bay Area, and excited to have so many of you here, and I want to thank all of you for being here this morning. Thank you. I want to thank Dina for introducing me also, and our esteemed guests. We also have the Secretary of the California Transportation Agency, Mr. Tokes Omashakin, who will be speaking shortly, and also Vince Mamano, who is our federal administrator and currently in an acting role overseeing the Western United States. So thank you for being here as well. So what I like about this slide, it talks about where Caltrans has been, what we're doing, and where we want to go. In our past, we've been very car-centric, very highway-centric, very road-centric. And that is still important to maintain and operate a safe and equitable transportation network throughout California. But what we've done recently over the last couple of years is helped develop some new policies based on some very bold and transformative and ambitious goals that Governor Newsom has set into place through some executive orders. And what we're trying to do is to ensure that the work that we do moving forward addresses climate change, addresses equity, addresses safety. And I'm thrilled also that we are supporting and aligned fully 100% with our California State Transportation Agency's core four of safety, equity, climate action, and economic prosperity moving forward. I'm born to immigrant parents. I'm first born in this country. Grew up in humble beginnings. My father also was a small business owner and had a small business as we were growing up to help us so that we could make ends meet. I worked hard on a family farm in the Central Valley during my summer breaks. So I understand what it takes to grow a small business. I understand what it means to have generational wealth to pass on to our children and our grandchildren. What we are doing at Caltrans is trying to continue to grow our disadvantaged business enterprises, our small businesses, our disabled veteran business enterprises throughout the state. Continue to enhance those opportunities and those pathways to ensure that you're successful when you bid our contracts, to ensure that you are successful to complete these contracts. We are providing that support to you going forward. And today, as we are here at this DBE Summit, Caltrans is embarking on a revolution, and we need all of you. We are rebuilding California. And what does that mean? I can tell you, for instance, California is receiving generational and historic levels of transportation funding coming from the federal government through the bipartisan infrastructure law, through Senate Bill 1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017, and from our leadership, Governor Newsom and our state legislature, who approved additional general fund appropriations for transportation funding. Over the next 10 years, Caltrans will be receiving over $100 billion in transportation funding. And those are funds that are going to go to contracts and opportunities for many of you to participate in. California is the fourth largest economy, and that's due in part from small businesses such as yourselves. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and you currently employ over 7.2 million people in California. That's almost 20% of the state's population. You all deserve a round of applause for that. As we rebuild California with you alongside of us as partners, I want to ensure that we are going to create jobs. And so far, Caltrans has received over $15 billion in transportation funding. We have put more than $3.7 billion into projects already and have created over 48,000 jobs in California. And I thank all of you, you small businesses, disadvantaged businesses, disabled veteran businesses, for your participation. I mentioned our core four foundational principles of safety, equity, climate action, and economic prosperity. This is our framework of everything we do at Caltrans. And at the center of that frame are people. People are our focus. All of you, the people we serve every day, the 40 million Californians, and our employees as well. Everything we do has to have a positive impact on people going forward. I'm proud to say that this year alone, Caltrans will be reaching almost $1 billion in contracts to disadvantaged business enterprises. That's up from $100 million just in 2009. And we are also moving forward to ensure that we enroll 300 additional firms as disadvantaged business enterprises this year as well. This DBE Summit is an opportunity for you to network and partner with Caltrans and other state agencies that are here, like the California High-Speed Rail Authority. As I mentioned, Caltrans is working hard to eliminate those barriers to those opportunities of contracting, eliminating those barriers to bonding and insurance, eliminating those barriers to upfront capital. And we're working very hard to ensure that each one of you and every California has that opportunity to that pathway to economic prosperity. Again, this summit's going to provide you the tools, the resources, the partnerships. I encourage you to network. I encourage you to come talk to us, get to know us, build those relationships, because in the end, it's the relationships that are going to help you, and the training, the education that we can provide that will assist you in being successful. In addition to helping small businesses, we're also helping people. We recently graduated a heavy equipment operator academy, 20 cohorts. We're providing the skills in how to operate all types of heavy equipment, providing the certifications in partnership with the Federal Highway Administration and others in California to develop this training course. All 20 of those cohorts that recently graduated have been placed in jobs, are helping in the construction industry, or have been hired by Caltrans. So it's exciting to see these people going from disadvantaged groups, historically marginalized communities, into good paying jobs and careers. We are currently having our second Highway Equipment Operator Academy, and I look forward to that graduation in the coming weeks. We are steadfast, laser focused on ensuring diversity, equity, and inclusion in everything that we do. And I want to share a story. Another program that we work to help people in California, provide them the opportunities. At Caltrans, we have a Prisons to Employment program where we partner with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Recently, we had a hiring event at the Solano State Prison, and we were able to hire over 24 individuals that were formerly incarcerated. One of the individuals I met on a job site and had a conversation with her, and she broke down in tears, basically telling me that if it wasn't for someone believing in her, giving her a second chance at life, she would not have this opportunity working for Caltrans and the ability to get her daughter back. So I'm excited that we can change lives in a positive way, and that's what Caltrans is doing moving forward. So I look forward to working with all of you as we continue to deliver transportation improvements. The future is now. Caltrans is open for business. We need you. There are so many opportunities ahead, many opportunities where everyone can participate. And I hope you will take this journey with us. I truly do. I'm already excited to see the number of people who are here and the numbers that are still coming in. But most importantly, I wish you great success in your endeavors, and I look forward to having these opportunities to have conversations with you and ensuring that you take these opportunities with us to bid some of our contracts. I want to thank you all this morning for being here, and it is my great pleasure and privilege at this time to introduce our California State Transportation Agency, Secretary Tokes Omoshakin.
I am pretty pumped up. Are you guys as well? Come on now. I'm pretty pumped up to get a chance to be here at this third annual DBE Summit. The very first time we did this, our OCR director, Mr. DeLuce, this was it was in a virtual format. And so last year we did this at SoFi Stadium. And this year we're here, and it's a great turnout again, hoping to see even more and more people come out and sign up to be a part of this. But I want to be clear about what the purpose is before I get into my remarks. By the way, when I get into my remarks, you're going to see that it's probably what the director should have given. It's got a lot of detail and graphs. I should have given the remarks that he gave. But the purpose of this, let me be clear about why we're here. Many of you in the room are small businesses, partner with small businesses, operate small businesses. And the purpose of this is to get you more connected to what we're doing in state government, the tremendous opportunities that the director just went over. They're vast. They're vast. The landscape in transportation is changing. Federal and state and local money unlike ever before. So this is that opportunity to engage with us. If you're already working with us, perfect. Are there more businesses that you should make aware of our efforts to ease and smoothen the process to do more business with us? Because all the responsibilities we have in state government, especially in transportation, we cannot do it alone. We cannot. Our contracting and maintenance teams cannot carry out those responsibilities by themselves, all the way through, whether it be, trucks helping us move rocks to painting. The needs are endless. And so that's what this opportunity is to connect more. I want to thank our district director, Dina L. Tawanzi. Dina, who spoke early on, for all the work that's happening in this district. I know that several examples of success stories of how we've engaged small businesses have happened right here in District 4. So give Dina a hand. And our director as well, Tony Tavares, who's jumped in on issues related to small business and DBE as well. He knows that this is a conversation we have very often because the governor wants to see us continue to improve in this area. And so, Tony, thank you as well for your leadership on this. Yeah, appreciate it. And some of the small business leaders here as well. Rod, I just got a chance to meet Rod and his business. Ingrid, good to see you here. I'm sure you'll be sharing some remarks. And of course, our federal partners in the room, SBA, Federal Highways, thank you so much for everything that you guys do as well in partnership with us. So I'll go through these remarks. I know they don't want me to take questions, but I'm going to try to take some questions. I see David just walked away, which is perfect. So when I get through, you guys can throw some questions at me. First of all, the director just went through this already. If you're wondering what we're focused on in transportation today, it's this. It's these 4 things. And he mentioned it, described it well. People-focused transportation decisions. That's where we're at today. Economic prosperity, which ties into why you are here today, and equity. I'll tell you that for many years, I believe in the government space, we've given a lot of lip service to equity, just to be frank. And we are trying to make true efforts, sincere efforts, to go from those symbolic talk around equity to systemic. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying somehow we've arrived and we've landed the ship and we know everything to do in the equity space. Not at all. But we're sincere about moving from symbolic to systemic change when it comes to equity-related issues. And so here's a little bit of how that's reflected in data. If you don't mind, I'm going to turn around. You may not be able to hear me as clearly as I turn around, but I have to show this to you because you may not be able to see it from back there directly. But this is, oh, it won't work on the screen. Oh, okay. All right. So if you look to your far left, and we got the old school, I thought we had slim budgets. They got slim budgets here too. If you look on the far left of your screen, that's 2016, 2017. That's what the DBE program looked like. By the way, the director mentioned in 2009, we were putting $100 million towards the DBE program. For the first time ever, since 2009, this year we're projected to be at $1 billion. $1 billion going to disadvantaged business enterprises based on the federal description that our Vince Mamano and his leadership, what they describe as disadvantaged, $1 billion. And so you can see the growth over the years from 2016 to where we're at today with an annual target of 22.2%. But the number at the right corner of the screen there says $835 million. And again, that number is projected to be at $1 billion for the first time ever in the history of the state this year. Again, more closely, I didn't know what the room was going to look like, so again, sorry, you guys are so far away. But this graphic in 2018, 2019, when the Newsom administration came in, and you can ask for a copy of this at some point as well, if you want to see this data more clearly. In 2018 and 2019, when the Newsom administration came in, we were at $505 million. So essentially $500 million going to this program, to DBEs, 505, that's the number at the bottom left screen, bottom left side of the screen. African-American businesses were at 24 million from this program. Native Americans, Latino businesses or Hispanic businesses were at 200 million roughly. Today, and I'm just picking a few random groups from this. Today, African Americans are at 48 million. Since 2019, since the Newsom administration came in, program has more than doubled. Hispanic businesses at 276 million, from roughly 212 to 276 million. So 60 million growth for Latino businesses, African American businesses, more than doubled in 4 years. So expansive growth happening in this program, and there's more money still coming into this space for opportunities to grow with you. Part of what's going to help us grow on the state side, not on the federal side anymore, but on the state side, is a bill, if you're not aware of it. It's called AB 2019. Please look up this bill, write this down. If you're not familiar with it, write it down, because it affects you. It affects you in this room. The governor signed it into law exactly a year ago, roughly September of 2022. This law requires state procurement across the board, a minimum of 25% of every state procurement. I repeat, every state procurement minimum, regardless of department, not just Caltrans and high-speed rail and DMV, everybody to be at least 25%. So, and this is the state side. So this is something you should take into any engagement that you have with anybody in state government to make sure that, what are they doing? What is this department doing? Whoever it is, what are y'all doing to make sure that I'm a part of that 25% because I have a small business? This is not state law. So be aware, be fully aware of that, and I'm not gonna go into the details of all what it entails. But finally, what I also wanted to share was, for us to get there, we're gonna have to make some very focused efforts on our side in state government. We know this. We're gonna have to make some very focused attempts to help to grow this. This is something we're passionate about, we're serious about, but we can't just talk about it. Part of what we're gonna have to do is better outreach. Efforts like this room should be like super packed. It should be completely packed out. This is full, but we could even do better. Guess how many small businesses, anybody can take a wild guess, how many small businesses exist in California? Take a guess, anybody? How many? 350,000, I know Ali. Anybody else? Number of small businesses in the state. The sheer number and the definition may throw you off. Our friend from the SBA, he'll tell you why the definition is that way. You can ping him when he comes up here to talk. But the number is actually 4.2 million. 4.2 million, what's considered small businesses in the state. In 2016, that number was 3.6 million. So almost 600,000 small businesses have been added. So we're gonna have to do more outreach to get people certified, qualified to do business ultimately with the state. That certification process, you may not be able to see it on your screen there, but since 2019, when this team has come in, this Newsom team has come into office, African American DBE certifications has grown 37% since 2019. It's gone from, you see on the screen there, from 410 to 563. Hispanic American-owned DBE firms, 986 to 1,196. A 21% growth there. So growth across the board, all the various groups that are part of the DBE program. There are other opportunities. I mentioned transportation extensively and what we're doing in transportation, but you also have programs like the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative that the governor has started. Middle Mile Broadband. If you're not familiar with that, something else to look into. $6 billion in state money, not even the federal money, in state money that's been set aside to help connect people across the state who are underserved and not served at all with high-speed internet, with broadband, to help them get connected. $6 billion. So not just opportunities in the transportation space, extensive opportunity just in construction-related activity across the board. And part of what we're doing further to engage in outreach is Tony, our director, and team, David DeLuce, they recently rolled out a $1.25 million effort to help train entities to help get people, companies, ready for opportunities to do business with us. And he mentioned a goal to recruit 300 new firms to do business with us. And we're going to have to do more as it relates to ethnic media as well. Working directly through the ethnic media in the state, whether it be Latino, Asian, African American media, wherever they are in California, we need to work with them to do the outreach to help get more businesses on board. I'll close with this. And again, I would love to take one or two quick questions. I know we're a little behind schedule. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. And so we must straighten our backs and work for our freedom. Sometimes we get a little complacent in these efforts on both sides. I engage sometimes with people who are in the seats that you're in, and I know there's a little bit of frustration. People are like, I'm tired of trying to beat the door down to get into the city, to get into the state, to get work. I'm tired of jumping through those hoops. And sometimes on our part as well, we get used to the same firms, the same big companies, repeatedly getting the work over and over and over. So it's on both sides. But if we want change to happen, it's not going to roll in on the wheels of inevitability. It's just not. We got to fight. All of us, on both sides. You private leaders, us on the government side as well, pushing to get to the change that we want to see, where everybody has an opportunity to do business and build that generational wealth that we want to build in California and this country. So thank you again very much for the opportunity to address you this morning. I know I'm not supposed to do this. David, give me 2 minutes. He's like, yeah, of course. I like that. Yes, sir. You ran from Iran? That's a very good question. I mean, look, if you're a small business, the SBA, and please remind me your name, sir. Chris, I think Chris is going to get an opportunity to talk. I mean, if you're a small business, that's where I would start. If you're a business with, I think the federal definition is like 500 or fewer people, which is still a big business to me. But I would start there. Just the fact that you're a small business, you can get work with us through the programs that we've set up. I wouldn't be overly focused on that designation, because that designation is a process. You saw, I could go back real quick. So these, and Vince Mamano, our federal highway regional administrator, these designations are set up by the federal government. I mean, and you see them here: African American, Asian Pacific, Native American, non-minority, women-owned. I mean, those are the designations the federal government has set up. But that's a process to try to get something specifically for people from the Middle East. I would focus on the fact that you're a small business and use that lens, use that vantage point to try to get work with us through the district. Are you here in the Bay Area? Okay, true. You just met Dina and meet the director as well. So I would focus there instead of just trying to change that designation. Yeah. One more and I'll run. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Dr. Kevin Christoph with Progress Consulting, and we do organizational change management and development work. I've applied for several contracts with different state agencies. I am CMAS certified, but I just discovered recently that there's a preferred vendors list where sometimes small businesses may not even get an opportunity to bid on a contract that you're qualified for because you're not on that preferred vendors list. So I'm wondering, is Caltrans aware of that and maybe doing anything about the barriers that might present for individuals or companies like myself that's not on that list but qualified to do the work?
I'm looking around for somebody to rescue me. I love when I get questions like this. So, your name one more time? Kevin, yeah, very good question. I'm not familiar with that preferred vendors list. To be honest with you, I think once you become certified to do work with us, I don't see why we should, eliminate certain groups of people. But David is coming to. There we go. David's like, before the boss says something like, we're not going to do any more preferred vendors list.
Yeah.
David.
Yeah, no worries. David DeLuz, Deputy Director for Civil Rights here at Caltrans. And Kevin, we go way back, so I'm really happy to see you here today. Caltrans is working very hard to make sure that everyone that wants to work with Caltrans and is qualified, is ready, willing, and able, has an opportunity to participate in helping us rebuild California. One of the things that we've done is we've moved to make sure that all of our small business contracts, instead of doing a limited procurement for small business only, right, which allows for us to seek only 3 bids, we now place all of our small business opportunities, and especially our small business only procurements, those now are all placed on Cal eProcure. So now there isn't necessarily a preferred vendors list in Caltrans. Every opportunity goes to Cal eProcure. So if you're registered in Cal eProcure and you want to receive solicitations from Caltrans, you go to Cal eProcure, you get certified, you get registered on there, you will receive a notification of every solicitation that you're eligible for. Now that said, we do have our emergency contract registry. So for those of you that provide goods and services that align and help us to meet the demands that come with an emergency, that is a quote unquote preferred vendors list because there is a level of pre-qualification you go through to provide that, but that's mostly for equipment, supplies that go with dealing with fires, roads being washed out, etc. So we are working very hard to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to participate in Caltrans contracts, and so we just want to make sure that you understand that we're here. We're trying to identify new opportunities and new ways to engage all of you. So we are looking for your feedback and information about how we can do better to shorten the distance between where you're at and where our opportunities are.
So David, you said all that to say that I was right? That
Yes, sir.
that we don't have a preferred list, right? All right. Everybody, Cal eProcure. You had one more over here, but I'm gonna run. You got one more over here.
Thank you. So my question is any bid or anything of any dollar amount put out to the general public who are on the site, or is it above a certain amount?
I'm not sure I completely understand. Is there a set dollar figure to the contracts that are shown on Cal eProcure, or?
Yeah, I mean, so the question is, if it's below, for example, 50,000, are they able then to go in and just get 3 bids? Because that's not open to everyone.
That's a good question. That's probably a David level question. Yeah. But thanks everybody. I'm gonna run. Thank you.
All righty, good morning. Again, my name is David DeLuz, Deputy Director for Civil Rights here at Caltrans, and I want to first First of all, let's give another round of applause for Director Tavares and Secretary Omashakin. These two gentlemen have exemplified transformational leadership and have empowered all of us throughout the state that wear the Caltrans logo to be more and to do more and to expect more from each and every one of us. So I want to thank them for their leadership, and we're really excited for what's to come. So with that, it's time for me to step away from the stage and introduce, because it is my pleasure to introduce this next person, is Mr. Vince Mamano, who is the FHWA's Acting Director of Field Services West. Mr. Vince Mamano.
All right. Good morning, good morning. I'm very impressed with Director Tavares. So I don't know if all of you have the same ability to stay focused like I do, and when something shiny happens, I'm off in a corner. But I noticed as Director Tavares was speaking, there was a container ship that started pulling out. I'm like, wow, he cued a container ship. And if you saw the side of the container ship, it said faith on the side of it. I'm like, wow, Tony, I'm very impressed by you. It was out by the time you got there, Toke, so that was all Tony. But it was kind of neat. To me, that's something I see. I mean, that was a container ship that's industry, and it said faith on it. And I think that's something that I know I have a great deal of faith in our program. I have a great deal of faith in Caltrans, and I have a great deal of faith, and not that it's mine to have, but I have a great deal of faith in you. And I think it's more important that you have the same faith in you. And you have the same faith in the program. Whether you have it or not, you got to have it if you want to make the program successful, because you're as much a part of the program as we are, as the state is, as federal government is. But it's just so important. There's just so much happening right now. The bipartisan infrastructure law has been mentioned a few times, and President Biden's Investing in America agenda. This all lines up. The goals that Tokes and Tony were talking about were great examples that line up directly with our President Biden's goals and the direction he's trying to go with what we're all trying to do. There's $5 billion, little over $5 billion a year that comes to Caltrans, comes to California. 40% of that goes to local agencies. Did everybody know that? 40% of that goes to local agencies. So when Tokes had pointed out the goals that you had over here since 2013, I got here in 2008, and we were under 2% in DBE participation in this state. And I still remember, there might be a few people around that still remember when they were talking about going to 7.9% goal. We'll never get it. We'll never get 7.9. There's no way we're going to get 12. If you told those same people 15 years ago that you were going to be at 22.2%, they'd had a heart attack. But that's way to go Caltrans, way to go local agencies, way to work, but that's way to go you, right? That's way to go you making a difference. And, I talk a lot about leadership, and leadership is about helping others succeed, helping everyone around you succeed. And I think that's something that this whole industry does. You don't just succeed yourself, but you're trying to help the people next to you succeed. Because if this whole industry succeeds, then we all succeed. Now, I'm the federal government, and I'm here to help. I'm going to help you whether you like it or not. So too bad, I'm here. Tough noogies. All right? I had to fit tough noogies in there. I had to get that one in there. But it's just, I get so excited when I work in this circle. Because this circle is growing, and this circle makes the difference. 22.5%, and right now they're over that goal. And the more industry you grow, the higher that goal will go. So what are you doing today to make you better, and what are you doing today to make the person next to you better, and what are you doing today to make Caltrans better? And I think questions like you asked about what's the minimum dollar amount, I think those are great questions. Those are the types of questions and concerns that I know that we as Federal Highway want to know about, Caltrans wants to know about, because they're looking for those barriers. Because there's some groups that are saying bundle contracts, and then you talk to small business, they don't bundle contracts. So there's a balance in all of this. And I think it's recognizing that all of us fit in the same space. So you fit in the same space as those big contractors. We all fit in the same space, and we got to work in that same space. I did a quick run through over here of the opportunities that are over here. The stuff Tony talked about with their equipment operator training. There's just a lot of stuff that's going into the Small Business Administration. It's always fun to see the different federal agencies. Well, it may not be for you. It's fun for me to see the different federal agencies when we get to play together, because Chris is here with Small Business Administration, and I think those are important things to see, that there's different branches of federal government trying to focus on this same space too. But anyway, I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you all for making a difference in your own space and helping the people around you succeed. Thank you for helping Caltrans's program succeed. And don't forget, there's 600 locals here in California. 600. When the Recovery Act came out in 2009, there were 527 local agencies that administered federal aid contracts. And guess what? DBE applies to all of those. Right? So when you're looking at your space and you're looking at the Caltrans opportunities, remember there's local agency opportunities out there, and hold them accountable too, because I know you hold Caltrans accountable. I know the Small Business Council that Caltrans has been a difference maker. That thing's evolved over time, but it's been a difference maker. Caltrans has changed their ways in some areas. It's a big ship you're trying to turn, so it's going to take a little time in some spaces. But there's a lot of change that's happened in those spaces because they're trying to listen. And we as Federal Highway just really appreciate the partnership that you allow us in, Director Tavares, and in the small business and DBE communities. So I'm not going to answer any questions. You're not allowed to raise your hand. I'm not even done yet. When I'm done, then I'm going to walk away quick and I'll answer a question after. But anyway, I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all for just what you're doing for our industry, and there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of opportunity. Don't underestimate your value, the ability for you to contribute to that, and get into it and get into the mix. So thank you all.
Now, one of the things that we want to do here at Caltrans is make sure that we provide you with some advice and provide you with some technical assistance. And right now, it's my honor to bring to the stage one of the premier technical assistance providers in the state, probably in the nation. If you want to know about how to access capital, if you want to understand about how to run the finances of your business, there's nobody more preeminently qualified than our next guest, Ingrid Merriweather, President and CEO of Merriweather & Williams.
Well, good morning. Such a pleasure to see you all here. It's a beautiful day. It's a great opportunity to get information that empowers you. And I see a number of faces in the crowd that I recognize, some of the contractors that we've worked with, some of our other colleagues that we refer to as advocates. So again, my name is Ingrid Merriweather. Our firm is Merriweather & Williams Insurance Services. Although we're really a property and casualty insurance brokerage firm, we are more known for programs that we administer with public agencies that are trying to have more contracting equity in public construction and recognize that there are entrenched systemic barriers. I appreciate the Secretary's comments about going from symbolism to actually structural change. And that really means that, you can't bring about equity until you redress inequity. And so really what I want to share with you today is just kind of some ways for you to advocate for yourself. I heard a lot from the folks at Caltrans that they want input, they want to hear suggestions, they want to hear what your perceptions are and what your realities are, because to get to the entrenched kind of institutionalized barriers, they have to understand how that impacts your businesses and maybe what kind of strategies and solutions help to address those issues. So it's really about kind of helping to shift the paradigm to manifest true public contracting equity, disrupting the systemic vicious cycle, the chicken and egg scenarios, the catch-22 syndrome as we call it, that really has created an entrenched status quo. And then who amongst us really represent the coalition of the willing that have a sphere of influence to change the paradigm? And that's really representation of folks in this room. Mostly the folks in this room are the small businesses themselves. You have a tremendous amount of power of influence, and it's just a matter of organizing, being able to speak to the challenges, and then coming forth with best practice recommendations that maybe have been implemented in other places for agencies like Caltrans to consider. So kind of level setting, I think everybody understands that public contracting and procurement is not always conducive for small firms. The way in which public agencies determine firms who are qualified, how the term experience is defined, so often it's defined by how many others as big as us have you done this for? Well, that's really classic chicken and egg. How do you get to that place that you can claim other clients of the size of a Caltrans or another public agency if that's always who they're putting the greatest evaluation consideration on? That's kind of the contracting ecosystem that we refer to that requires change. Then you got to recognize what are the institutional barriers that the agencies themselves don't directly control or influence. I happen to represent an industry, the insurance industry, that's part of the problem. You know, we are really good for creating inequity, whether intentional or not, the effect of the same. Accessing insurance that meets agency requirements, the cost of insurance for small businesses is many times greater than it is for a large business, not because they've been proven to be higher risk, but because they're small. And our industry happens to determine insurance rates based on volume, based on gross receipts. So if you're large, you inherently get much lower insurance rates than if you're small, even if you've had no claims or losses. Well, how do you compete when business is being awarded on a low bid basis when your inherent costs to operate are much greater than they would be for even a medium-sized business, let alone a large business? Bonding, another problem of our industry. It's classic chicken and egg and vicious cycle. Well, how much public work have you done? That's part of the underwriting process of surety underwriting. Well, I need bonds in order to qualify to do public works. Again, classic chicken and egg situation. Access to capital, obviously a significant entrenched problem. If you are a small contractor and you walk into any major lending institution looking for a line of credit, something that you all should have access to, something that's critically important to have working capital for your business, so when you're awarded that contract with Caltrans or any other agency, you have the ability of sustaining yourself through the cash flow problem that doing business with public agencies create. How many businesses can sustain themselves for 60 or 90 days, expending their own capital resources, of which obviously you have a limitation on, before you start to receive progress payments? So as small businesses, we're essentially being asked to fund public construction on our backs without interest rate or finance charges, but somehow we're supposed to have resources to fund the prosecution of those contracts without basic access to capital. So really, it's about putting in place kind of an ecosystem that addresses both what the agency controls, its contracting practices, how do they make those more conducive for small businesses. We're huge proponents of set-asides or sheltered bidding, if that name is a little more comfortable for some folks, but allowing small businesses to compete with each other, to have a pipeline of contract opportunities that are conducive for small business, that are always there for them to bid on directly in a level playing field where they're competing with businesses who have similar cost infrastructure that they do. And then don't fool yourself. This is not just about doing what's right. It's not just about equity and inclusion for diversity's sake. It's really about increasing the pool of competition. Some of the programs that we administer where, for example, we'll help folks qualify for bonding, and that bonding enables them to bid on a project, and that project is being awarded on a low bid basis. Well, we've had contractors who've been low bid by $1.5 million, $800,000, $700,000. So really, this is not just about equity for equity's sake, it's also about increasing competition. As taxpayers who are funding these projects, we all should want a robust environment for a lot of competition, and that really means removing the barriers that prevent folks from being able to compete on an equitable basis. So, a few things. What can agencies do? So they can, as I said, create intentional and ongoing pipeline of small, what we call small prime contract opportunities. I'll give you an example. We've done business with the City and County of San Francisco for 26 years. They've had an LBE set-aside program all that time. We know of small contractors who have grown their businesses multiple times as a result of having bidding opportunities, a flow of them that are in their reach. And that allows them to build capacity because you get the opportunity of repetition, taking the profits and the revenues and building the infrastructure of your businesses. Redefine experience and qualifications to consider something beyond how many others. Again, the classic chicken and egg scenario. Allow for equivalent evidence of capabilities and capacity. Insurance requirements need not be one size fits all. Align requirements to be more attainable for small businesses. Give some consideration for the reality that small businesses inherently pay higher insurance rates. Utilize more flexible contracting methods like best value. If everything is awarded on just a low bid basis, then obviously the folks who are successful most often are the folks who have the lowest overhead and operating costs, which generally are not small businesses. And establish inclusive and equity in contracting as a scored evaluation criteria. Soon as you start selecting large prime contractors, inclusive of how they're going to achieve inclusivity goals, measuring them in the same basis that you measure them in other areas, past performance. And that doesn't mean, what other agencies can give them references, what small businesses can give them references. What is the experience of a small business doing business with a large prime contractor? That should be the type of reference that an agency should be looking for to attest really the sincerity and the authenticity of small business engagement by large prime contractors. This has been a practice that's been put in place with some agencies. LAX happens to be one of them. Talk about changing the paradigm, changing the behavior of prime contractors when they have to compete on the basis beyond being the most experienced and the most qualified and the lowest bid, but they have to compete on what their approach to contracting equity is going to be. They have to demonstrate their past performance in that area. They have to show how they're removing some of the systemic barriers. They have to present their pre-qualification process, because that's really the screening out of many of our businesses is their pre-qualification process, which unfortunately rely heavily on those same systemic factors: access to capital, bonding, insurance. That's why so often small firms struggle to meet the pre-qualifications of these firms. Looking at access to technical assistance, resourcing contractor supportive services, the work we do and others who provide assistance to contractors to address the issue of bonding. We've done about $1 billion of bonds for minority and small contractors over 26 years. And the thing that we really like to tout most about is something we call our loss ratio. That means, the dollar exposed and how much of that has been lost through default of small contractors that we bond. Our loss ratio is less than 1/10 of 1%. Only 2 contractors have defaulted in 26 years. That's the true representation of experience, qualification, and capacity of the small contractor community, but without these kind of resources in place, you don't always get the opportunity to demonstrate what you're capable of. And so I'll really wrap it up there, but I just want to appreciate Caltrans for not just the invitation, but for really the candor in which they spoke, the recognition that, yes, they've come a long ways in terms of how much more they're doing with DBE businesses, but they also candidly admit how much more there is to be done. And that's always what you want. And then I encourage all of you to become advocates. I mean, I always like to speak about the union as kind of the ideal representation of the power of collective effort, the power of people. And it doesn't have to be hundreds of thousands of people, but you all really do have a voice. And I hear Caltrans asking for your input. So use your voice. Tell them what you think is needed. Tell them what challenges you are encountering and what recommendations you have to remove those barriers. And then in concert with the Secretary's comments about just sharing information with you about maybe other opportunities, I wanted to have you all write down AB 2873. That is also state legislation that this administration passed in 2022 that requires a supplier diversity program be in place for all affordable housing developments that have any state dollars in it, which is pretty much all affordable housing. And so pay attention, you're gonna start seeing outreach from the affordable housing community. Obviously, those are really well-suited opportunities for small contractors because they fall in the realm of general construction, and they are just getting the process started, building out the infrastructure to do tracking and monitoring and outreach and removing barriers. And so, you know, pay attention to this, find the affordable housing developers in your community, challenge them, ask them what are they going to do to implement AB 2873, organize yourselves to provide them feedback and input on what's necessary for you to be able to participate in those opportunities as well. So with that, I'll close. Thank you again, Caltrans, for the opportunity, and look forward to seeing all of you doing work with Caltrans and some of the other agencies in the very near future.
Again, Ingrid and her firm are a wealth of knowledge, and I don't know if you all heard, but they've done millions in bonds for small business. That is a huge accomplishment, and the fact that they've literally in 26 years have had only 2 firms not successfully execute is an astounding record, and we just want to congratulate you and thank you for being here today. Let's give another round of applause for Ingrid Merriweather. Couple of housekeeping items. This publication here is hot off the press. It's our CalSTA Merit handout. It's got it shares a lot of information. Excuse me, I'm a little tongue-tied. I've only had 1 cup of coffee. It has a lot of information about the efforts of the California State Transportation Agency, including Caltrans, high-speed rail, all of the initiatives that we're executing, and a status report on where we are with equity, inclusion, and economic prosperity and opportunities for all, and how we're prosecuting the work that we've been charged by the people of the state of California and by the U.S. federal government. So I want to encourage you, we have a limited number of copies of this publication available here today at the front. We are also within the next week, this is going to be available on our CalSTA website. So you can go visit the CalSTA website to access this document. Secondly, I want to encourage you, around the room on easels, you'll see a number of barcodes, a number of QR codes, excuse me. There's several big QR codes, one at the end of this row here, and I believe another one over in the vendor space. It's a survey. We've said that we want to hear from each and every one of you. This survey is one opportunity that you have to share with us who you are, what you do, and what your biggest concerns are. So we are encouraging you to not leave here today without checking out that QR code and sharing your thoughts and ideas. Also, we have several Caltrans staff wearing these lovely blue Caltrans polo shirts. If you have any questions or want to share any thoughts or ideas about how to improve what we do, I want to encourage you to reach out to our staff and talk to them directly. We also have staff at our vendor table as well. So we want to encourage you that there are staff here that are available. Myself, I'll be here all afternoon to answer any questions that you might have, so I'll be available as well. And now, finally, I want to make sure that you also know that there are QR codes on easels all around that provide information of various sorts. For instance, if you're interested in finding out what our A&E contracting opportunities are, there's a QR code for that. If you want to find out how to get certified, there's a QR code for that. If you want to find out what's coming up in the next 6 months or 24 months in terms of our contracting opportunities, there's a QR code for that. So there's information that's available at your fingertips that can help you start on your journey to figuring out how you can take advantage of the opportunities that are readily available here at Caltrans and how you can help us rebuild California. So again, I want to thank you, Ingrid, for your presentation. Now, we also promised you tools and resources, and our next guest is part of an organization that has delivered billions in loan guarantees, millions of loans, contracts, counseling sessions, and other forms of assistance to small businesses. Please help me welcome the Small Business Administration District Director, Mr. Chris Horton.
Good morning, everyone. I want to first start off, like David said, my name is Chris Horton. I was sworn into office in May of this year as the District Director for the United States Small Business Administration San Francisco District Office. I'm going to talk to you today about the tools, the resources, and the information and experts that we have available to support you. I just want to take a quick pulse on the room. How many in this room are small business owners? Okay, great. How many of you have ever worked with the SBA? Okay, shows we got work to do. What you say the number one thing you want to know about is access to capital? If that's an agreement with most of you, just kind of, no? Okay, what about the government contracting space? Okay, so let me take a step back and tell you who we are and what we do. So my district, I cover 14 counties. You go down to Santa Cruz, you go up the coast, I go all the way up to the Oregon border. What my organization does and our team, we provide tools, resources, and information. We have 5 pillars that I want to walk through with you. The 5 pillars that we work under, or that work under our umbrella. The first one is called resource partners. We have several resource partners, and I'm going to presume that everyone in this room pays taxes. Your taxpayer dollars has paid for you to get access to these tools, these resources, and this information. So I'm going to say that again. You pay taxes every year, so that payment is a payment for you to have access to the largest business consulting firm in the world, the SBA. And under that umbrella, you have what's called SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. You have SCORE. You have the Women Business Outreach Centers. And then you have the Veteran Business Outreach Centers. We have 2 affiliate partners that we collaborate with. One is called Apex Accelerator, which is on the government contracting side and getting different certifications. And then the other one that we have, and then we have what's called Tech Futures Group. So if you're in the tech industry, we have a dedicated firm that can help work with you on supporting your small business. Now, when we provide technical assistance and we provide resources, we cover all phases of the business life cycle. So you're either in ideation, you've started a business, you're in growth, or you're in the transition and you're ready to exit your business. So we can help you with any aspect of it. So if you're looking to have a lifestyle business or you're looking to grow a business and scale it and then sell it off on the market, we can help you with every aspect of that. So I want you to take advantage of that. Now, I'm here to provide you resources, but I need your help as well. I've been told that agency-wide for SBA across the country, I've been told we're somewhere around supporting micro, mini micro, small businesses, ethnic businesses, racialized businesses, however you want to describe or identify, socially, economically disadvantaged as well. I'm going to take a pulse. What percentage of you in this room think that agency-wide from SBA, we are providing services 5% or higher to minority-owned, ethnically owned businesses, 5% or greater? We're at 3% around the country. The services that we're providing, SBA, I've been told, is somewhere around 3%, and I think our benchmark is around 15% of the work that we do agency-wide across this country. So I need your help. So if you have a pen and a piece of paper or your cell phone, I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number because I need you to call me and tell me where you are and what you need help with. And if you're in my district, then I will get you connected with that resource partner to help you out. So you ready? It's 408, it's 823, it's 2660. 408. Oh, I gave you my agency number. But I challenge you to really reach out. Listen, I'm out doing this. I'm on phones, I'm on Zoom calls, I'm in meetings, I'm doing presentations. So the quickest thing for you is to just shoot me a quick text message. Hey, Chris, we were at the DBE event. I got a quick question for you. If I'm in the middle of something, I'll text you, I'll call you back when I'm done. But realize, if you look at the number of people that's in this room, and I speak 2 to 3 times a day, and I give my phone number out, I need you to have some grace with me as well and allow me that opportunity to give you a call back. So I put that out there. Resource partners is what we talked about, right? The next pillar is community partners. Community partners are chambers of commerce. Let it be the General Chamber of Commerce, let it be an ethnic chamber of commerce. We partner with them because they are where many small businesses, especially micro, mini micro, mom and pop owner operators are connected. That's where they go to get their resources. But the chamber can only take you so far, and I can say this, I'm a former chamber president and CEO in Silicon Valley. We could have only taken you so far, but when you have the collaboration of the SBA resource partners, then we can help take you that much further. So you got your community partners. The third pillar is access to capital. That's where many folks are looking for, funding. So some of our resource partners can help you with both debt financing and equity financing. The equity financing is where you're getting an investor of some sort to invest, or you're doing fundraising, you're doing crowdfunding. Debt financing, you're taking out a debt instrument, which is typically a loan or a line of credit. And so we have several programs. We have preferred lenders. We have approved lenders to provide financing. One of the things I want to talk to you about, let's just pause here about financing. The challenge that I've learned as a credit underwriter, as a commercial loan officer, is that when folks are looking for funding, the request that they're looking for isn't the right request. And so that's why a lot of small businesses find themselves being denied or declined by financial institutions. The one thing I want you to walk away from today's conversation with me is this. There's something that all lenders are going to work off of, and it's called debt service coverage ratio. So I want you to take this ratio down. For every dollar you want to borrow, you need to have evidence that you can generate $1.25. So either historically, you've generated $1.25, or you are projected and you're on a trajectory to be able to generate $1.25. So if you want to borrow $100,000, you need to have evidence that you can generate $125,000. So if you walk away with anything, definitely know that, because then you know that the request you're going in front of a lender for is right or not. So just know that. The next one after capital, access to capital, we have our Office of Disaster Assistance. When you see disasters that are around the country and you see that there's a presidential declaration, then the SBA and FEMA get involved to provide resources and support in those communities that have been affected by natural disaster. And then the last one I want to mention to you is the, so I got that one, and then, so one of the things I really want to spend some time talking to you about is how does the SBA raise the awareness for you to know where to go, who to go and talk to, who can you trust, who's that right resource for you to go to. So I am okay opening it up and answering some questions in regard to those sort of things or some of the other things that I may have shared with you thus far today. But I just want you to really take advantage of myself, making myself available. I want to thank Dahlia for giving me the opportunity and inviting me to be here. This is what makes me excited every time my alarm clock goes off in the morning, is that I get an opportunity to get in front of small businesses, and I get an opportunity to talk to people that have an idea that they think they can monetize or they can create a quality of life for themselves. My motivation every day, I don't have goals. That, SBA, we don't have lending goals, we don't have startup goals, we don't have job creation goals. We get credit for it with our resource partners. But here's what my payoff is. It isn't a paycheck. My payoff is that I have the ability to create communities where we can all live, work, and play and raise our families, where mom and dad don't have to work 2 part-time jobs to provide a quality of life for their kids, that small businesses are able to pay employees a fair share wage so that they can work 1 job, they can be home, they can be parents, they can teach their kids morals, values, and principles. So that's my payoff. And so I'll pause with that, open it up if there's any questions that you have. Go ahead.
So the question is, there are other programs, but it's the same story that we hear over and over again, access to capital. But let's define and go through the process to see whether it works or it doesn't work. And to be honest with you, it does work, but it's on a very limited basis. So the success of these programs, without looking into the negativity of it, is not being accounted for.
Okay.
So that's one. On the same level, procurement. So you mentioned a nonprofit that does a lot of training, and I've been through it, but none of them can come in and take the simple email that we get from CalProcure, simply saying, on such a day, this RFP or RFQ is being issued, you're on your own. Beyond that, I want to challenge anyone in Caltrans to come in and give us one presentation from that email. How can we go through the process? No one will.
I definitely encourage you to follow up with Caltrans, because that's their space, and I'm going to stay in my lane. But I do know with Apex Accelerators, and we have someone here from Apex Accelerator that can engage and get in and have that more in-depth conversation with you. So that's what I would encourage you there. As far as the SBA resource partners and our programs, as I said a little bit earlier, our programming that we provide, it doesn't cost you anything. It's all free. Now, some of them may put on webinars or training like QuickBooks or something like that there may be a minimal charge for. But for you to have an idea and you want to meet with someone to talk about crystallizing that idea and deciding how to go to market and how to be competitive and how to write a business plan and how to come up with your pricing and who's going to be your target client, all of those things are completely free. I mean, and I'm literally talking from the day that you want to launch that business to the day you want to exit that business. So again, I gave you my cell phone number. I encourage you to reach out and let me know, hey, me or a client or someone that I know is looking to get help and we need to know where to go, and I'm happy to get you connected with any of those resource partners.
And I'd just like to add, if anyone wants to leave their business cards so that you can be contacted by one of our DSBLs, Dahlia, if we can get something up here, and then drop your card in there so that we can make sure to communicate directly with you, as well as DSBLs are here for you to be able to contact once we go to the exhibitor side. Thank you.
And were there any other questions? There's one in the back right there.
Hi, Chris. Thank you. And thank you, SBA. I'm completing a PhD in civil engineering. I have 2 masters, 1 executive MBA. but I go to SBA website all of the time because they do have great resources for small businesses. They have huge learning videos that you can take to create your business plan, etc. It's an awesome, SBA is awesome, I want to say.
Thank you.
And as far as capital, I just walked into my bank. SBA has the SBA 504, up to $4 million. I could get a loan within 90 days. So I just want to let everybody know that the SBA does provide us small businesses resources. I'm waiting for my WOSB to come through. SBA is taking a little bit of time on that, but I just wanted to thank you, Chris, and SBA.
Thank you. I'll give you the check later.
Thank you.
So listen, folks, again, thank you for allowing me to be here. I will be here throughout the day. We have a table over there. Stephen, my outreach and marketing specialist, is here. And again, I challenge you to challenge the SBA to really be that resource and help you with your small business and those things that are most important to you. Have a good rest of the day.
Now it's time for a small fireside chat. And we're going to bring up one of your fellow colleagues, Mr. Roderick Edison. He is the president of Max Out Incorporated. This is a DBE and small business enterprise firm founded in 2001, specializing in construction management, asphalt paving, and concrete. And they were founded, their mission is to become a contractor of choice by supplying quality service with integrity and humility. Everyone, let's welcome Mr. Roderick Edison. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the construction industry.
So, the way I got into business, the construction business, and started my own business is, initially I started a company and I was working as a superintendent for a construction company, and their goal was to get into another area, and they were told by their customer that they couldn't transfer into that area until they upped their minority spend. So knowing that I had a company on the side, they approached me and asked me to get a contractor's license. And if I got my contractor's license, I was already running all of their paving operations. Then they would carve out an area for me to take over and separate from them and become a client to them.
Okay, great. So you were working for a time with a prime, and then you branched off onto your own.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a DBE and doing some of the work that you've done on public works. Talk to us about that journey.
So what I was doing, obviously went through the certification process, got certified with the CPUC, and got certified with Metro. We turned around and began doing work with, I was working with for Southern California Gas Company, doing a lot of paving for them. And things took a turn with the company that I was working with, so I reached out. And I'll just let you know, Merriweather & Williams is probably one of the first companies that I reached out to. I went to a couple of events, outreach events, met a few people, met Merriweather & Williams, became a client of theirs. They kind of put me along with NAMC, National Association of Minority Contractors, kind of put me in touch with certain clients, some of your bigger contractors out there, and set me up in certain ways. I went through the bonding process. Merriweather Williams set me up with bonding, which my bonding agent is here also, which surprised me today, so I wasn't expecting that as well. But the first project that I bid on after getting my certification and whatnot was the Metro Expo 2 Bikeway project down in the city of Los Angeles. And Obviously, bonding is a big problem for small businesses. So going through Meriwether and Williams, they have a program where the city actually puts up the collateral to back the bond. And so being a small contractor, I couldn't bond. The project that I bid was $500,000. I couldn't bond for it. So using their program, I was able to bond for that project and started working on it. Worked out well enough that the contractor, which was Skanska at the time, decided, hey, you know what, we want to put you on the other side of this project and give you another contract. And so that $500,000 contract turned into almost $1 million contract in a 4-month period.
Wow. Props to Meriwether and Williams. It sounds like one of the secrets to your success was networking and then getting the right kind of technical assistance.
Yes. So the thing, a lot of people come into the networking. I came out, I started the networking. Networking is not one of my things. I'm more of a one-on-one person, and coming in with a group of people and saying, okay, let me go to this podium, let me go to this booth, let me go to this booth and meet people. It's really not my thing, but it did help me in meeting the right people. And then from there, it turned into a thing of, okay, well, I've met you here, now let me try to meet you outside of, my thing is, let me try to meet you outside of business, right? So even with the Caltrans and whatnot, and a lot of your major companies, their whole thing is they do business with the same people because they built a rapport with those people as far as a friendship outside of just business. So that's where I started coming in and saying, okay, well, let me try to do the same thing, and let me meet with these people, and hey, let's go to lunch, or let me take you out and have a drink, something to that effect, to where we get that relationship outside of business, and get familiar with each other that way, so that you get to a point where you're comfortable. And that's how I was able to kind of to grow some things and move forward with some of the people that I've met. And it's all contact through the networking.
And having access to someone like Meriwether Williams, or it might be the SBA or SBDC, Small Business Development Center, someone that understands the process better than you to give you advice and help you along the way was really helpful, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NAMC, the National Association of Minority Contractors, along with Meriwether and Williams, are some of the people that I reached out to. I also had separate contractors that I became friends with, and that had already kind of been through the process and kind of helped mentor me along the way. I met a lot of people through NAMC. I became a member of NAMC back in 2012, about the same time that I signed up as a client of Meriwether and Williams back in 2012, and they put me in front of a lot of the people that you needed to meet and get to know. And I'm now actually the acting vice president of NAMC currently. So.
Amen. Great. So it sounds like what I'm hearing from you is that in addition to, again, being ready, you were already ready, willing, and able. You had skill and experience, and you coupled that with getting the technical assistance from folks like Meriwether and Williams, but also getting involved in your association really helped to broaden your experience and broaden your opportunities, right?
I had the working skill, the knowledge of the trade. There's still a lot of stuff that I didn't have experience in, and that was the business aspect. You know, obviously I was transferring from doing work with a utility to now getting more into the bidding process, which is something that I really didn't have to do. I worked for utilities for a couple of years where you didn't bid, you put numbers together one time and you've got a contract for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So the whole bidding process was something that was a little bit new to me.
How'd you learn about that? How'd you get good at that?
Get good at?
At the bidding process.
Through resources. a lot of your outreach programs, your resources and whatnot, fellow contractors, and just kind of a word of mouth thing, just putting it out there and getting and being a sponge off of anybody that I can speak to help me out.
How has, you're small business certified and your MBE, Minority Business Enterprise certified. I'm assuming that's with the City of Los Angeles?
The MBE is through the state, which is the Public Utilities Commission. And then I am SBE and DBE certified through Metro CDCP.
How have those certifications helped you in growing your business?
So what the certifications have done is they've given me the exposure, right? So I've had people come to me as vice president of NAMC, hey, I got my certification, now I need to get work. Well, it doesn't work that way. I mean, we got to be realistic about these things, right? The certification helps you, it gets you out there, it gets your company that notification, and it may help you in opening that door. But once you get that door open, you've got to sustain keeping that door open and working and harboring that relationship. I mean, it's still when in the end, it always comes back to the relationship.
Yeah, your phone doesn't automatically start ringing off the hook with job offers, with bid offers, right?
No, it doesn't. I mean, you've got to bid and bid and bid again, and just like anything, more times you get out there and bid. If you bid, make 10 bids and you get one, you've done pretty good.
Little side note or side question: how much time do you spend as a percentage of your time? What percentage of your time do you spend in actual business development? You know, doing the networking, meeting and greeting, sitting down, talking with folks. About what percent?
Good question. I would probably say about 35 to 40% of my time is in the networking realm. Constantly networking.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So I just got my DBE certification. I'm a brand new DBE. What 3 pieces of advice would you give me just off the rip? What would you suggest I do?
So if you just got your certification, I would say, depending on what your trade is or what it is that you're trying to do, look up the outreach events and try to figure out what's out there as far as what you want to do or what advantages there are out there as far as the trade that you're looking for. If you have a specific trade, I mean, the internet right now is great as far as being able to get any type of information. You can punch in keywords and pull up that information. Do the SBE. Find out what organizations are in your area that you can become part of that may have access to people that you don't have access to at the time, and use them. I mean, if they're there, you get one of the big things is you are who you hang around with, right? So if you turn around and you've got 50 contractors that already have some type of networking area, then why not be that 51st person along with them? Because one of them is probably going to lead you into an opportunity that you would not have had before. Because that's kind of how it worked for me. I got involved with a couple of organizations, and then I literally had another contractor who does the same type of work that I do say, oh, no, come over here, you need to meet this person. Oh, let me introduce you to this person. And that's how I got to meet a couple of people, and before you knew it, I was sitting up bidding a project and working on a project with Skanska and some of your big primes out there.
So, quick plug again, around this room we have our QR codes that can help you find contracting opportunities that are available right now through Caltrans. You can also visit our Contractors Corner. If you Google Caltrans Contractors Corner, there's a link to our 24-month look-ahead report. And you can also search advertisements for bids that are currently advertised. You can actually find bidding opportunities by either your NAICS code or just a verbal description of the work that you do. You can find those opportunities right now on Caltrans' website. It's available to you 24/7, 365. Roderick, I want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you. Let's give it up for Roderick, everyone. Thank you very much for your time.
Can I share something also?
Yes, please.
So one of the things that the gentleman that's sitting over here, he asked earlier, and the question kind of didn't get answered in regards to the dollar amount and whatnot of some of these projects. I'm gonna share something with you that I found out, is that every single one of your Caltrans offices, facilities, they have somebody that's in charge at that facility who has their own small budget, just so you know. So if you get to know some of those people, they can turn around and do contracts up to $200,000 on small stuff, and you just have to get to meet them and get to know who they are. So that's a little caveat out there that a lot of people don't know. I found out about 2 years ago.
Roderick Edison, everyone. Max Out Incorporated. Thank you, brother. Good to see you. Okay, now everyone, we are moving into our last session for this morning before we move into our vendor tabling. It's time for our panel. We're really excited. We have a great panel laid out for you this morning. We've got, first of all, Mr. Bonnie Nyaga, who is with the Director's Office, DBE and Small Business Manager. Bonnie. Where's Bonnie at?
Bonnie.
Okay, here he comes. He's sprinting up to the front. We also have Miss Kimberly Wilson, the Queen of Oakland, the Port of Oakland. Kimberly Wilson. We have Beverly Johnson with East Bay Municipal Utility District. Let's give it up for Beverly. Renata Dar with Sacramento County Department of Airports. And then finally, Alexi Chacon with BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit. Okay. These are all state and local agencies that have contracting opportunities right now for each and every one of you. So I'm going to ask sort of a quick, quick fire round of questions to each and every one of you. We'll start all the way on the end with Alexi, and then we'll come down this way. My bad. We'll start at the end and then come down this way. First of all, what are the biggest small business contracting opportunities that are available with your agency?
Sure, and I'll just give a quick intro. So my name's Alexi. I'm in the Office of Civil Rights. So we implement the policy that's meant to ensure that small businesses are included in our procurement process. So when it comes to the biggest opportunities, they really fall into three main buckets. There's construction contracts, procurement contracts, and professional services agreements. When it comes to construction, that's really focused on the modernization of our stations. So that can be building out canopies at different stations. When it comes to procurement, that's really focused on maintenance of our transit system. So that can be non-revenue generating transit vehicles. And then with professional services, we're really focused on architecture and engineering and construction management.
All right. Renata?
Hello, my name is Renata Dare with Sacramento International Airport, and we have a number of projects coming up in the near future. There's 1.3 billion slated for 5 major construction projects at the airport: a new parking garage, a consolidated rental car facility, and a walkway, a ground transportation facility, and then terminal expansion at both Concourse B and Terminal A. In addition to those major construction projects, we have a number of requests for proposals coming out for passenger services. Our food and beverage RFP is out right now. Proposals are due by the end of this week. That's a very exciting one. All 18 spaces, food and beverage spaces within both terminals are being turned over. Our retail one will be coming up shortly. Advertising, taxi, and vending, which I think is a great opportunity for small businesses to be in the airport space. Vending machines are usually an easier capital investment for small businesses to achieve. And so we're getting ready to release that vending RFP pretty soon, looking at January 2024. In all of our opportunities, there's space for small business. We have DBE, but also AC DBE, which is specific to airport concession operators. I think that's all we have coming up.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Beverly Johnson. I'm the Contract Equity Administrator for East Bay Municipal Utility District, and we're a water, wastewater utility that serves pretty much most of Alameda and Contra Costa County. Type of things that we procure is pretty much what was said before. A lot of construction. Our construction, of course, deals mostly with pipeline. And if you live in our service area, you've probably been hearing about our whole infrastructure in terms of our pipeline rebuild project, which is really trying to replace a lot of pipe that's underground that's aging. We celebrated our 100th year anniversary this year, and of course we got pipes in the ground that's almost that old, and so the idea is going through and bringing them up to date. We do contract also for professional and general services. We buy a lot of different items in terms of things from, of course, pencils and papers, office supplies, to things such as chemicals, pipe, rock and gravel, trucking services. We have formal bidding processes, and then, as Robert kind of mentioned, there are those things that we kind of call informal, whereby they're open in terms of what we have an on-call list for various things, such as trucking, such as concrete, such as asphalt paving. So look us up, and then we will have some information on our table and talk to you a little bit more about our contracting opportunities. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Wilson with the Port of Oakland. And the question was, how do DBEs and small businesses get access to our contracting opportunities?
Actually, the question was just talk about the contracting opportunities that are available for small businesses.
Oh my goodness,
So, yeah.
everything. So the Port of Oakland, the Port of Oakland is essentially a property manager. So we are responsible for the land that exists at the cranes, so the seaport, all the way along the waterfront, the bay, to Oakland International Airport. So we're essentially a property manager. As such, we are responsible for maintaining that infrastructure. What is the infrastructure? Well, obviously it's the seaport, it's also the airport, but it's also all the land, including Jack London Square. And if you all are familiar with Oakland, it's the shopping center where Raising Cane's is, where Walmart used to be. It's all of this land. And what is the thing that Beverly just said is, we have old and aging infrastructure. So one of the main things that we're focusing on right now is improving all of our sewage lines, right? So if you're interested in Beverly, please also be interested in us. So yes, so we're doing sewage rehabilitation throughout that entire area, right? So from the seaport with the cranes and the shipping containers are all the way to the airport, and inclusive of those areas. Also, there is a capital improvement plan, a 5-year capital improvement plan that has doubled the planned investment from the past. So we are literally doing 100% more in our capital improvement plan. And in order for us to be successful, we need you. Part of that capital improvement plan, like I said, is the sewage lines. Also, it is rehabbing the Oakland International Airport. I don't know if you all are familiar with or aware of the fact that we have currently on the street an environmental impact report out because we're hoping to modernize and expand the airport to add another terminal. And so that's the beginning stages, but currently we are still rehabbing the airport. There are 2 contracts that are out. What we're doing is basically a construction manager at risk. And so we have 2 construction manager at risk CMRs, but we're calling them prime builders, who are looking for small, local, and diverse businesses to work with them. So the first one is locally funded. So if your business is in Alameda or Contra Costa County, know that they have local business contracting goals. And if your business is a DBE, that is for our federally funded restroom project. We need your help. The locally funded contract is held by Turner Construction. The federally funded contract is held by Webcor. Webcor hasn't released or have been given any restrooms to renovate yet. They just got under contract, but Turner has released a few projects. Guess what? I need y'all. We really need more entrance into the market with our contracting at the airport and in general. So see me, we have a table over there. See Beverly, but also see me.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. My name is Bonnie Nyaga from Caltrans. I'm a DBE construction manager at the director's office, been in Caltrans for 22 years. So hearing all the contracts from the groups here, in Caltrans we have a huge program that harnesses not just our federal resources, our state and local funding sources. And we have a lot of contracts on the architectural and engineering side that are advertised on Cali Procure, and they have a table here. You can go look at our DPAC group from Caltrans. But most importantly, we have a very huge ongoing construction program. Right now, as we speak, we have over $12 billion. $12 billion. And that doesn't include all the oversight projects that we are also working on. And we have set a lot of goals. If you listened to the remarks that were made by Director Tavares, Tony Tavares, and Secretary Tokes, Caltrans is committed to equity and economic prosperity for all. So in all these contracts we're talking about, there is a real effort in Caltrans to make sure that we're inclusive, and we're including the small businesses, disadvantaged businesses, disabled veteran businesses in joining us to build this very important California infrastructure. If you want to find out where we have our contracts advertised, I would recommend you go to the Caltrans website, dot.ca.gov. There's a link for Work with Caltrans. It'll take you to headquarters OE website, or what we call Contractors Corner. Another source of good contracts, which is the minor Bs, the JOCs, the broadband mill-mile network contracts, CMGCs that were mentioned here earlier, is Cali Procure. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here as we continue with the discussion.
That's a great segue, Bonnie. All of these people here are looking for opportunities to work with all of you. Let's set aside the DB program and the Small Business Enterprise program. Can you highlight one or two top initiatives that you have going on right now? And Kimberly, you started to mention this with your local contracting opportunities, but can you tell us about your top one or two initiatives? And we're going to start Bonnie, and then we're going to go back down the line. Tell us about some of your top initiatives that you're engaging in to encourage small and diverse business participation in your projects.
Thank you very much, David. You know, Caltrans is a people-first organization. What does that mean? We first listen to your needs, and then we develop programs that will meet those needs without violating the law, and develop policies. We're changing policies. And so we have listened to the people in the effort to advance equity and economic prosperity for our citizens here in California, and created a few initiatives. So I know a lot of you here, some of you are from the architectural engineering world. Caltrans has had a long-running Cal Mentor program that is a mentor project program for that aspect of types of contracts. But I am happy to also announce that ongoing right now is Caltrans has developed the fast construction mentor project program for construction, something that only existed initially just in the 9 Bay Area counties, and we are now statewide. We are going to be in every one of the 12 Caltrans districts. So this Cal Mentor and Mentor Project Program for Construction, what is the purpose? It is to harness the power of example. Having mentors, experienced contractors who will hold your hand and help break those barriers that inhibit you from working with Caltrans. We are not the big bad Caltrans, we are the good ones now. We are moving forward, wanting to include everyone. We've got a lot of work. So that's one program. So we are breaking barriers, helping you build relationships. The gentleman from National Association of Minority Contractors here mentioned why relationships are important, and we are imparting knowledge and helping you succeed in that aspect. Another aspect of things, another initiative we're working on is something that has been spoken about by a lot. Tony Talks talked about it, Ingrid Mayweather talked about it, and that's bonding and financial assistance. We are looking at creating initiatives around that. I thank David DeLuz here, our director for the Office of Civil Rights, for his leadership in that space in helping us move in that direction, and you'll hear more about that. And then one other initiative is that is near and dear to me, and obviously I'm sure many of you will be happy with, is that the journey to you bidding on a contract starts with knowing where those contracts are advertised. If you cannot find the contracts easily, then we cannot imagine that you will be able to participate. And so we are working on an initiative that we'll be rolling out here soon that we are calling the One-Stop Portal. All available contracting opportunities in Caltrans in one place, organized in a simple way, and where you can go in and search. We do have all that information on the online right now and in other sources, but want to make it simple and easier for all of you to be able to work. The last initiative is harnessing and aligning our policies to align with our goals on equity and economic prosperity and inclusion of small businesses, DBEs, DVBEs in our contracting processes. So those are all programs coming to a district near you, somewhere in the state of California. So I'm not going to give you my phone number, but if you want to just come talk to me, you can call me anytime and we can work. But I just want to make one last point, David. Anyone with a great idea on how we can improve this space of inclusion and opportunity, come talk to me. I'll be around all day, and I'll be happy to see what we can do about that.
Thank you, Bonnie. Kimberly?
So there are two primary things that we're doing currently. Right now, at the Port of Oakland, we're reviewing our policies, our contracting policies, specifically for actually locally funded and federally funded, US DOT funded contracts. So you will all be invited to focus groups. If you're certified somewhere, you'll be invited to learn more and to contribute your ideas to how our contracting policies may actually help to benefit your businesses. So that's one thing, and that's a pretty global thing, and it's a big deal. The other thing that we're doing that we started a couple of weeks ago is every Wednesday until November 15th, we're having a virtual academy that kind of goes through some of our policies. And beginning on the 25th, for 2 days, we're actually going to go through our general specifications so that folks can fully understand and have a sense of what it's like to, I guess, bid on our work and know what the expectations are as you're working on it. So yeah, we have a contractor academy that's going on now, and it's kind of open enrollment. So if you'd like to join, it's virtual from 4 to 7 on Wednesdays. You can see me at the booth.
Thank you, Kimberly.
A couple key things that the district has or is initiative that's going forward in trying to promote more diversity and more small business participation is, for one, we do offer a 7% bid discount up to $150,000 for small businesses competing against non-small businesses. And because we are a public agency, things are based on low bid, so the small bid discount is a big plus if you are interested in doing workforce and you are competing on a low bid type contract for us. The other thing is also in terms of set aside for small businesses that we have on certain contracts. But the key thing, I guess when you think about initiatives, there's a couple things that is my biggest problem, and that's knowing who's out there and what type of work you do. We have trouble in terms of getting firms to come and bid with us at East Bay Mud. I think a lot of people misunderstand who we are. We are a separate public agency, not part of the city of Oakland, not part of the Alameda County. We are a separate entity, so you have to look for us separately and know that we're out there. We're really trying to, right now, we have what we call on-call contracts. They really call them fully maintained and operated type of projects, contracts for trucking, for backhoe operators. We have a real big need in terms of paving contractors for miscellaneous work, for plumbers. So we have contracts that we use to call up. One of the initiatives that is being proposed for 2024 is, as someone mentioned earlier, Caltrans have like their emergency list of companies that they use based on the pandemic. It showed us how we were not prepared for responding with small firms. In cases of emergency, we did have our regular emergency things that we use, but there was a big need. And so we want to follow the state's sample and also put together an emergency call-up list for us at East Bay Mud. So we're going to be looking to see any of you who may be interested in participating in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. You all heard it here first. East Bay Mud has contracts and they need people to bid on them. And I'll tell you, that's one of the challenges we're seeing at Caltrans. I can tell you in the last quarter of the state fiscal year, we went from averaging 5 bids on our state-funded contracts down to just over 4 bids. And on smaller contracts, we sometimes had 3 or less bids on our contracts. Now, we recognize that's because there's a lot of work out there, but understand that the more bids that come in, the more opportunity folks are going to have to work. And so we want to encourage you by making that information available and encouraging you to bid. We also want to figure out how do we incentivize or create a willingness or an interest to bid on our projects, because we want more competition. We want more bids. It'll lower cost and it'll create opportunities. So, Beverly, thank you. Renata?
So the Sacramento International Airport is owned and operated by the County of Sacramento, and similar to the 7% discount that you have or price margin, the Sacramento County has for procurement as well. It's 5% for local and then an additional 2% for micro business. So that's one of the initiatives. Another one within the airport is, especially with our airport concession spaces, is separating the spaces so that small businesses can bid on or submit a proposal for a specific location. So like one, a standalone location, instead of having to take like all 18 spaces and operate them, which would only be feasible for a prime. We've broken out the restaurant spaces into smaller packages. So we have 3 packages that have 1 space, and so in doing that, we thought that would be more attainable for a local business, a smaller operation. And we've also removed the minimal annual guarantee, which has been, yeah, it's a big deal it's a very big deal within aviation. So so we have removed MAG, and specifically for the restaurants, but we're going to move that towards all of our airport concession spaces, and hoping that will attract local businesses to propose concepts. And in the future, we're talking about having small business kiosks or opportunities for local businesses to come in and maybe have like a 6-month rotation on a kiosk space or something, so that people can bring their products into the airport environment and see how they do. We currently, provide our concession contacts to small businesses, and we've had a few positive outcomes with that, where we've seen some local products showcased within our current retail. And sometimes that's the way that they can get in and then see if it sells, and then that maybe they could have their own storefront at some point. So we're working on developing more initiatives, but those are what we have so far.
So over at BART, we know that navigating the procurement process of any public agency can be unintuitive, difficult, especially for first-timers. To address that on our end, we've established the Small Business Support Services Program, which is a really great opportunity because it provides small businesses workshops, webinars, one-on-one assistance in navigating the contract life cycle for construction contracts. So it'll help you with pre- and post-award responsibilities. And then on top of that, well, one last thing I'd say about that is that we're in our final year of programming when it comes to that program. So please take advantage and come visit our table as well to learn more. And then on top of that, we're also working with other public transit agencies to establish certification reciprocity. So we just recently established certification reciprocity for a number of certifications with LA Metro. And so what that does is that opens up small businesses in this region to bid on contracts in Southern California tied to LA Metro as well. So in that way, we're trying to increase the pool of work that's available to you all.
Okay, we're pressed up against the clock, but I want to give you one opportunity to share one bit of advice for all these small business owners that are out here, and we're going to start with Beverly. What is the one bit of advice you would give everyone out here about working with your agency or any public agency that has small business and minority business opportunities?
The one thing that I would like to encourage all of you to do, whether doing work for East Bay MUD or any other public agency, is first of all, when you do go in, well, first of all, please get registered. But the other thing is, when you do look at a bid document and it is not something, or there's something in it that is keeping you from bidding on that solicitation, call us and let us know what it is, because the idea is by you being in the field and actually doing the work, you're able to come back to give us feedback about how we might need to change our bid document, because I'm sure almost everybody up here, like with us, we keep the same old because it's easy and convenient. It's not that it's because it's the best and the greatest, and the only way we can improve it is for hearing from you. So if there's something to keep you from bidding, please let us know and see if it's something that we can change. I do want to offer just one other piece of advice, and the other is, and Roderick mentioned it, in terms of please invest in your company by participating and working with some of the resource organizations, such as NAMC, We have Bruce here, who is the president of the Northern California chapter. There's women construction owners and executive. There's a lot of groups out there in your ethnic chambers. Please take the time and invest and come as a team in terms of trying to pursue and do work with our agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Renata.
I would echo that, getting registered, especially with Sacramento International Airport. A lot of times our opportunities will come up and they're only open for a few weeks or a month before there's some type of deadline that occurs, that like a pre-proposal meeting. It's a mandatory meeting that you have to attend in order to be competitive in submitting your proposal. So I would say get registered so that you are aware of the opportunities. And then there's another thing that you touched on and wanted to bring it up, but now I can't remember what it was. Certification? Yes, organizations. So I have developed relationships with our local small business resource centers, and I let them know, like, there's a few key people where I reach out to and say, hey, we're gonna have this soon. It may not be on our website yet, or we're developing the RFP, or we've identified a need, and just to let them know to start getting ready to broadcast that information too. So I would say get involved with your local resources because they're a wealth of knowledge and they're clued into what's happening within your particular industry.
Thank you. Alexi.
I would say to make an account on our vendor procurement portal. There you can make a profile. You'll be able to review active solicitations, and you'll really be able to see advertised contracts. In addition, we send out alerts when contracts are posted that are relevant to your own scopes of work, so it's really the best way to be plugged in. And then apart from the vendor procurement portal, we have an upcoming procurement page on BART.gov that shows currently advertised contracts, and there you'll see the most up-to-date information as well.
Bonnie.
The one piece of advice I would give all of you is ask questions. Don't be intimidated by the size of Caltrans. If you look at a contract and you think there is a barrier that inhibits you personally from participating, ask the questions. And how do you ask questions? Go to the Caltrans website, dot.ca.gov, look for Caltrans near me, find the local district small business group, and ask them questions. Or better still, just call me.
And last but certainly not least, Kimberly Wilson with the Port of Oakland.
So you've heard my wonderful, enlightened panelists say, make sure you deal with organizations. You've had multiple people come up and talk about either their organizations or other organizations such as NAMAC, National Association of Minority Contractors. Get plugged in there. The Port is working on a mentor-protege program with them. Like, get involved with those things, pay attention to what's on the websites, register with the different organizations. But I'm going to tell you a secret that people who work for the government and public agencies don't want you to know. And I usually get a lot of flack from my peers when I say this. But there is something that you have that you don't necessarily exercise, and that is the Public Records Act. You can ask for the bids or the proposals of the previous contract holders or of contract holders for scopes of work that you are pursuing. Why is that important? There's the question. How do you get good at estimating? How do you get good at doing proposals? Cheat. Look at who has been successful in the past and mimic that and make sure that it can fit into what you're pursuing. Literally, why reinvent the wheel? Some organizations, such as BART, have on their website the contract winner. Look at the bid. Look at the proposal. Literally, that is your guide. And you can ask, you just need to be very specific. You can even say, I'd like all of the winning proposals from this time period that include this scope of work. And guess what? We have to give it to you within 10 days. Use that Public Records Act to your benefit, to help grow your business, to help understand what each specific agency is looking for when they're looking for things, especially when it's something other than low bid. And if you're a construction contractor and you're like, why is it my bids are always the highest? Well, guess what? Do that public records request to try to get a sense of where they're bidding each of the items. And that's pretty much it. That's the secret. Don't tell everybody that I told you, though.
Thank you, panel. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Beverly, Renata, and Alexi. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, you could do a better job. Thanks. Let's give our panel a round of applause. Thank you, everyone. Whoa. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this portion of our DBE Summit. I want to thank you all for coming and giving us your attention and your questions and your interest. We're now going to move over to our vendor tabling session, which is right to my right, your left, right here in the building. Thank you again very much for coming. The panelists, myself, will be here to answer any questions or be available to just interact with you. So with that, on behalf of our director, Tony Tavares, and our secretary, Tokso Mashakin, thank you all very much for being here.
My company is located in Gardena, California, which is in the LA County area, and we specialize in asphalt and concrete paving. I've always worked, obviously, in the roadway industry. A lot of the work that I have done is for utility companies, but some of that has, because of the location of that work, has been in Caltrans areas, our jurisdiction. So I was able to get familiar with some of their requirements and specifications. And in doing that, it kind of made it a no-brainer to want to try to do work with them. I met a couple of people, and I was fortunate enough that I was able to work on a couple of Caltrans projects on a couple of freeways doing stamped concrete work. One of the things that I've been fortunate to be a part of is Caltrans is looking at figuring out what they can do to try to get more participants, minority business, small businesses, involved in doing work with them. I was happened to be on a panel where we did a survey to ask those questions of contractors to figure out why they're not bidding with Caltrans. And now the second phase of that is trying to figure out what we need to do to help small businesses to participate on bidding on those contracts with Caltrans. Get involved. I mean, the Caltrans is looking for small businesses, so let's put the small businesses in front of them to take advantage of it. Thank you.
My name is Camus, and this is my wife, Shauna. We own Abbott Custom Electric out of Napa, and we are a residential and commercial light industrial electrical outfit.
We were looking forward to coming to today's event to learn how to better work with the government and do larger scale jobs. I think we've met some great people today. The keynote speakers were exceptional. We learned a lot from every part of the seminar, actually. So it's been very informative and well worth coming.
A lot of the takeaways were just, websites, phone numbers of people that are extremely helpful, that are going to help us with Caltrans and everyone else that will put us in the right directions of where we need to go in order to get some of these contracts.
I also thought it was really nice to hear that each one of these districts wants to work with contractors like us, and that they have the resources out there and are actively seeking bids from small businesses, from disadvantaged business entities, and like us, a disabled veteran business enterprise. So it's been great.